Land Where I Flee is a family saga in which four siblings living in various parts of the world convene in my hometown of Gangtok in Sikkim for their grandmother's 84th birthday. So this grandmother is not exactly a good person. The relationship she shares with all her grandchildren is not rosy. And the siblings themselves are very nervous about the reunion because they haven't seen one another in a long time. They haven't seen the grandmother in a long time. So there are secrets that threaten to spill out. There are past follies that get revisited. And it's a fun book. It's a fun review recently described it as a masala-packed book. And that's what it is. It is my second book. My first book was The Gurkha's Daughter. That's the way some review describes it, and I thought it was interesting. See, Land Where I Flee was my second book. My first was a collection of short stories. When I got my book deal, it was a 2-book deal, and the second of it had to be a novel. When I wrote my collection of short stories, I had no clue who would read it. I had no clue if it would be read worldwide. I mean, I had dreams it would be read worldwide, but I didn't think that would happen. I didn't know if it would be read only in India or if only 3 members of my family would read it. With Land Where I Flee, I already had a contract. I already knew that the book had a home and that it was going to see the light of day. So I had a blast with it. I enjoyed writing it tremendously. I decided to incorporate one taboo after another and have fun with it. Caste, class, sexuality, gender, and everything in there. And it was a fun book to write. It could have been because I'd evolved somewhat as a writer between the first book and the second book, or it could have been simply that I was in a really good place in life at that point. Book deal had just been signed. The Indian media were treating me like I was the new Gandhi, thanks to the fact that I'd signed this ridiculous 2-book deal. It was a good point in my life. I write about my part of the world. I write about my land. I am from Sikkim. My family is originally from Kalimpong in the Darjeeling district of India, and my mom is from Nepal. So writing about it was a very, very natural thing. Writing about my surrounding areas was easy. It was convenient. Writing about Italy would have involved copious amounts of research, and I wasn't willing to do that. But I've gotten to that point where I'm 2 books old and I'm sick and tired of writing about my land and my people. So my third book may not be about the Nepali-speaking region of India or Nepal at all. It will probably be about something completely different. No, see, this is a book that's that's based in Gangtok. The biggest chunks of it take place in Gangtok and Kalimpong. In fact, 90% of the book takes place in Gangtok and Kalimpong. And so could it have happened anywhere else? Yeah, sure, it could have happened in Bombay. But Bombay does not have the Gorkhaland movement that Kalimpong and Darjeeling have. Bombay does not have the celebration of Bhaitika, or the celebration of Dasai, the Nepali way, that Sikkim does. Bombay doesn't have the celebration of Diwali, the Nepali Hindu way that the Darjeeling area does. So this isn't one of those books that are based in New York and London, and someone comes to Gangtok for a 3-day vacation and returns. Yes, there are all these siblings living in various parts of the world who come to Gangtok for 5 days, but the book takes place over a period of 5 days. And the land is, yes, very, very important to the book. In fact, I call Gangtok one of the main characters of the book. It takes place in Gangtok. I mean, I dedicate pages and pages to how Gangtok is a city of stairs. And does that answer your question? We're all fleeing. I mean, there are people fleeing their countries because they're not wanted there, like a Bhutanese refugee character in Land Where I Flee. Some people are fleeing to the West for better opportunities. Some people have fled to the West for better opportunities, but want to come back to the land they originally come from. So there's a lot of fleeing going on here, and we're all fleeing the, whatever demons in our minds and bodies that we have. So that's how the title of the novel came about, and we decided to do away with an article before Land Where I Flee. A lot of reviews refer to Land Where I Flee as The Land Where I Flee, which is grammatically correct, but we decided to take some grammatical license and just did away with the of the title. Yeah, no, there is a lot of people thinking about their past, people, there's a lot of reflection, and I think Homecoming triggers a lot of reflection. There is some kind of guilt about whether you've abandoned your roots, about whether you've abandoned your family to be elsewhere. There is that kind of guilt, and it also takes you back to your childhood, which happens to a lot of these characters. So, yes, the book is spread over a period of 5 days, but there is some going back and forth involved. There are people going back to their early lives. There are people, there's a lot of flashback involved. So, yes, it is wait a second. Does it take place over 5 days? Yeah, 4 or 5 days. Anyway, it takes place during Diwali. Which coincides with grandmother's birthday, grandmother's 84th birthday. So I think I just answered your question before I lost my train of thought and forgot what it was, but yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. So the first, this is a book that thrives on stereotypes. It is a book full of cliches. The first of the siblings is Bhagwati. This is a Brahmin family, and Bhagwati happens to be the firstborn of a Brahmin family who elopes with a so-called low-caste Bhutanese refugee. The second of the siblings is a woman called Manasa. I've seen that in a lot of families where the firstborn does a lot of wrong, the responsibility to do everything the right way falls on the second sibling, and Manasa is the second sibling here. She is married into one of the oldest and most prestigious families of Nepal. But her marriage but not everything is hunky-dory in her marriage. Then there are the two brothers. Agastya is a doctor in New York who has this big secret. Everyone is wondering why he's not married, and that's because he's in a 3-year clandestine relationship with a nurse at his hospital who just happens to be male. And then we have a writer called Rutwa, who is the fourth of the siblings, and he has done a number of bad things to advance his writing career. And he's not even invited to the reunion. He's not invited to the 84th birthday, but he decides to make an appearance, and things happen. I also have another character, a eunuch servant. I think everyone who is familiar with the culture of eunuchs of Hijraz in India wants to write about them because they're such fascinating people. And I have someone called Prasanthi, who was born a man but is now a woman, and she is a servant in that house. And besides providing the novel with comic relief, is also a lovely character. She is the favorite character I've written. So you bring all these people together, and some of these people are extremely vocal, some of them are very belligerent, and then there is that grandmother who is formidable, who makes politicians nervous. All these seasoned politicians who have been around for decades come to get an audience with her and return with their tails slinking in between their legs. So these were fun characters to write. I wanted to write a formidable grandma into the book because I'm sick and tired of reading books about grandmas that are coy. I mean, they may have sharp tongues on them, but they still unemployed, they do nothing, you know, the stereotypical Indian Nepalese grandma, so to speak. So I wanted her there, and I wanted to write a unique character into the book. I was adamant about these things. The others just happened. I thought, oh, it would be kind of cool to write about the caste system. I thought it would be cool to write about class. I thought it would be cool to write about sexuality. And then I quickly realized that I was writing these very stereotypical characters. And then I thought to myself, maybe I should incorporate a fourth author, a fourth sibling who can be this guy who is making fun of books and characters of this kind. And so Rutwa, the writer, talks about how mosquitoes in India suck blood more vehemently, about eunuchs being more flamboyant in books than they are in real life, etc., etc. It was just my way of saving my butt from all those people who would say, oh, but this is a book on these are such cliched stereotypical characters. I did it on purpose. You know, I wouldn't say they go back transformed, because that's not how life works. How often can we claim to have life-changing experiences? It doesn't really happen. But some of them return wiser, some of them return richer, some of them realize that they may have to stay back. And so, I mean, there is minuscule transformation. I wouldn't say everybody has turned over a new leaf and is ready to take on the world. That doesn't happen in real life. It doesn't happen in the book.